Chapter 259. The Four Unrighteous Caliphs, Section 2. Osman was the third caliph among the so-called rightly guided caliphs, Abu Bakr, Omar, Osman, and Ali. Muslim historians and scholars believed that during the rule of the third caliph Osman the Islamic State became the greatest empire in the world. At the time of Osman, there was abundance of wealth in the Medina until the Jariya, or female slave, was sold for a quantity of gold equals to her weight. According to the Egyptian Muslim scholar Dr. Sayyid Mahmud al-Kimni, the master of the beautiful Jariya had been given such big price for the duty that she would perform in bed. The most important question for al-Kimni was, from where did such an enormous amount of gold had come? In answering this question, al-Kimni said, the gold came from those countries that Muslim mujahideen invaded and looted. Before that gold was accumulated in the hand of the buyer of the beautiful Jariya, it was scattered in the price of a goat of a poor Egyptian farmer, in the grain of an Iraqi who lived in a hut, and in the sheep of a Syrian who grazed his sheep in the wilderness. In other words, the Muslim mujahideen robbed the cattle and the grain of the poor shepherds, farmers, and workers in those countries they invaded in the name of jihad or holy war. The looted cattle and grain brought to Medina and sold, and the price was used as gold to buy the beautiful jawari or female slaves. Therefore, the sweats of the Egyptian farmers, the Iraqi merchants, and the Syrian shepherds were gathered and sold and poured in one scale, and on the other scale stood a beautiful Jariya. The main books of Islamic history mentioned that one of the companions of the Prophet left behind him more than 5 million dinars when he died, and another one left gold that needed to be cut with axes. The Caliph Osman was known for his nepotism. He took money from the Muslim treasury and bribed those who opposed his rule. He sent two of the revered companions of the Prophet, Abu Zar al-Jafari and Yasir ibn Ammar, into exile because they reproached his behavior. Before he sent him to exile, Osman trampled Yasir under his feet until Yasir lost his consciousness. Yasir was one of those whom the Prophet promised paradise. Osman made Ibn Abi al-Sara governor of Egypt, whereas all Muslims at that time knew there was a verse in the Quran that was interpreted as condemning Ibn al-Sara to unbelief. It is important to mention how Muslims assassinated the third Caliph Osman, because his murder created one of the greatest divisions in Islamic history and caused Muslims to slaughter each other like slaughtering animals. When some of the Egyptians came to Medina and complained to Osman about Ibn Abi al-Sara, Osman scourged them and killed one of them. He also appointed his half-brother al-Walid ibn Aqba a governor of Kufa when Muslims knew that this man had cheated the Prophet and had become an apostate after the death of the Prophet Muhammad. Al-Walid ibn Aqba used to lead Muslims in prayer in Kufa while he was fully drunk. The un-Islamic behavior of al-Walid led Ibn al-Ashta to rebuke Osman in the following harsh words: from Malik ibn al-Harith ibn al-Ashta to the Caliph, who was corrupt, sinful, despiser of his Prophet's sunnah, and denouncer of the Quranic rule behind his back, keep from us your Walid and every one whom your whims led you to send to us from your house. The revolt of Egypt was encouraged by Mohammed ibn Abi Huzaifah, Mohammed ibn Abi Bakr al-Siddiq, the son of the first Caliph, and Yasir ibn Ammar. Those three companions of the Prophet travelled from Medina to Egypt to move the people against Osman. In addition to all these actions, Osman also burned al-Masahif, or different versions of the Quran, and left only one version. There were many different Masahif or versions of the Quran at the time of Osman, which had different arrangements of surahs, and some of them included different verses. To mention a few, there were the Musahaf of Aisha, of Hafsa, of Ali, and of Ibn Masud. Osman burnt all except that of Hafsa, the daughter of Abu Bakr, the second caliph. This action led the revered companion and the beloved of the Prophet, Ibn Masud, to protest against what Osman was doing with the words of Allah. In response, Osman cast him out of the mosque and ordered him to be beaten until his ribs were broken. Ali ibn Abi Talib, the later fourth caliph, and the husband of the Prophet's daughter, Fatima al-Zahra, refused to surrender his Musahaf, but Osman took it from him by force. Muslim historians falsely argued that the assassination of Osman came as a result of a conspiracy plotted by a Jewish man called Ibn Saba. Nonetheless, Osman's corruption, nepotism, and bad rule brought the calamity on him and ultimately resulted in his assassination. I am not interested in tracing how and why Osman was assassinated. I just want to show how the evil Muslim Mujahideen used the sword of Islam to murder innocent people because they refused to accept Muhammad as the messenger of God. Muslim scholars and preachers in Western countries tried to make non-Muslims to believe that Islam was the religion of peace. They would always say that all the wars that Muslim Mujahideen fought during the time of Muhammad and the so-called rightly guided caliphs were defensive wars. In that, those blindfolded scholars and preachers would go against incontestable historical facts and events that the most reliable Islamic sources would not deny. The third Caliph Osman was murdered inside his house by Muslims. After his death, Muslims refused to allow his family to bury his dead body in Muslim graveyards. Moreover, they even threw stones on those who attempted to bury him. Finally, the body of Osman was buried in the Jewish cemetery, which known as Hardcover. It is almost impossible to give full details in one chapter of the bloody battles that the fourth so-called rightly guided Caliph Ali and his Mujahideen or holy warriors fought against other Muslim Mujahideen fighters. During the time of Ali, Muslim Mujahideen turned the sword of Islam on each other and killed uncountable numbers of Muslims. When Ali was elected the fourth caliph after the assassination of the third caliph Osman, Kufa and Syria were the two provinces that had openly defied his authority. Ali sent messengers to the governors of both the provinces. Abu Musa Ash'ari, the governor of Kufa, sent a satisfactory reply. He assured the caliph of his loyalty. He further said that he had got from the people the pledge of loyalty for the new caliph. In his letter to Muawiyah, the governor of Syria, Ali said, "Pledge loyalty to me or get ready to fight." Muawiyah sent a very clever outspoken man to deliver his letter of reply. Ali opened the letter. The entire letter said was, "In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful." This amazed Ali and asked the messenger, "What does Muawiyah mean by this?" The man stood up and said, "Gentlemen, when I left Syria, there were 50,000 Mujahideen weeping for Osman. Their beards were wet with tears. They have sworn to punish the murders of the late caliph. They will not sheath their swords until they have taken the revenge." One of the men sitting by Ali stood up and said, "O Syrian messenger, do you mean to overawe us with your Syrian army? By Allah, Osman's shirt is not the shirt of Prophet Joseph. Nor is Muawiyah's sorrow for him the sorrow of Prophet Jacob. If people mourn Osman in Syria, there are men in Iraq who speak ill of him." The words of the messenger hurt Ali and he exclaimed, "O Allah! You well know that I have nothing to do with Osman's murder. By Allah, his murders have escaped." Muawiyah's reply gave Ali a broad hint about the intentions of the Syrian governor. He was not going to give in without a fight. Ali started preparations for the coming fight. Hassan, Ali's eldest son, was against bloodshed. He begged his father to give up the caliphate rather than start a civil war. "At long last," he went on, "people will have to accept your leadership." Ali did not agree with these views of his son. The impending clash between Ali and Muawiyah caused uneasiness in Medina. All knew how powerful and tactful the Syrian governor was. Bringing him to his knees was going to be a very tough job. Before long, an army was ready to fight those who did not accept the authority of the caliph. Before Ali could deal with Muawiyah, he had to face another danger. Aisha, the beloved wife of Muhammad, turned against Ali too. Aisha went for pilgrimage in Mecca when Osman was murdered in Medina. On her way back, she got the horrible news of his murder. She went back to Mecca. She addressed a public gathering. She told people how cruel it was on the part of the rioters to have killed the caliph in cold blood, in the holy city of the Prophet. She appealed to them to avenge the death of Osman. However, Aisha was hypocritical on her stand toward the murder of Osman. Before she went to Mecca, she called up on Muslims and urged them to kill Osman. When she heard his murder, she pretended to be moved by the cruel way he was killed. One of the murderers of Osman happened to be her own brother, Muhammad ibn Abu Bakr al-Siddiq. I would like to mention here that Muslim woman was not allowed to participate in jihad or holy war. According to a hadith of the Prophet, the jihad of the woman or her holy war should be in the bed of her husband. Her jihad in her marital bed is called al-anana, which means crying and screaming due to the pain of sex that inflicted on her vagina by the penis of her husband. To grasp this problem, one should recall the female genital mutilation. Through that cruel procedure, the Muslim girl's vagina would be reduced to a tiny hole which will not allow access to a finger. Wherefore, sex with a Muslim girl, if it is not impossible, it will be extremely difficult. Many Muslim girls prefer to be sodomized by their husbands. In other words, anal sex for them less painful than vaginal sex. Anyway, for some reason or the other, Aisha defied that hadith and declared holy war against Ali and took part on it. It estimated that 14,000 Muslims were killed in the Battle of Camel. It was so named because Aisha rode to the battle on a camel. Aisha was defeated and captured. Nevertheless, Ali didn't kill her, but sent her back to Medina. As soon as the revolt of Aisha was crushed, Ali found himself facing even a greater uprising by the governor of Syria, Muawiyah. With the exception of Syria, the whole Islamic empire had now accepted Ali as the fourth rightly guided caliph. After the Battle of the Camel was over, Ali returned from Basra to Kufa. The struggle between Ali and Muawiyah was long, and many battles were fought, and uncountable numbers of Muslims were slain by the swords of other Muslims. Ali himself was assassinated by a Muslim. Ali was stabbed near the mosque by Abdur Rahman when he came to lead Muslims in the morning prayers. So, out of the so-called rightly guided caliphs, 3 were slain by fellow Muslims: Omar by Abu Lu'lu'ah, Osman by Muslim revolters, and Ali by Abdur Rahman. According to some Shiite resources, even the first caliph Abu Bakr was poisoned by Muslims. One last thing worth mentioning: Muhammad, the son of the Caliph Abu Bakr, was one of the murderers of the Caliph Osman. Later on, Muslims caught him and inserted his body in the stomach of a donkey. He was alive when was subjected to such inhumane death. He died of suffocation. This is, in short, the story of the 4 unrighteous caliphs of Islam, which falsely called the rightly guided caliphs, who supposedly received divine guidance from God, just like their false prophet Muhammad, who made the same claim and deceived millions of people, and by today's count over 1 billion.